All right, are we live? Looks like we are live. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the How Can I Help My Child series. How is everyone doing this morning? How is it at your end? Is it raining? Are you having a rainy morning? Are you having a cold morning? Good morning, and welcome to the show where we answer questions that parents ask on their parenting journey. My name is Maribeth Chima, and I am the founder of the Parenting Through Mentorship Academy and PTM Resources, and of course, the proud matron of the Mastermind Circle. All right, today we are talking about how we can help our children manage stress and anxiety, how we can empower our children as parents, how we can help our preteens manage stress and anxiety, and how, as parents, we can come in to empower our children to help them through this phase of their lives. As preteens, this show is for you who is a parent of a child between 6 and 13. Yes, the show is for you who is a parent of a toddler, a child who is probably not 6 yet or almost 6. It's a show for you, the parents of teenagers, even, especially if you are struggling with your teenager. And that is because in this show, we answer questions, we come up with solutions for common inquiries and common challenges that parents have on their journey. All we do on this show is answer the questions that parents have asked us over the years. So welcome, let's get to it. We started part one of this particular episode yesterday. So what we are doing today is we are just doing the concluding part. Sorry, we're just doing the concluding part of part one. Sorry, I'm trying to do some housekeeping here. All right, just give me a second to get that done. If you are watching on YouTube, why don't you go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube channel? If you are not subscribed to that channel yet, there's so much wisdom that goes on in there. There's so much, parenting wisdom that is going on in that channel that you want to access and, of course, apply in your parenting. If you are on Facebook, and you have a friend who has children within these brackets, then you want to invite them to be a part of the show and to join in the other things that we do at PTM. And yes, 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 if you want that hand holding, right, especially for your children, where your children can work in a community with other young children who have the same or similar values, the same or similar drive, or even if you have a child who doesn't have that drive yet, and you want to put them in a community where they can meet other people who have got the drive or who are more motivated because you want your child to be inspired and motivated, then you want to hurry up and bring them to the mastermind circle where we work with children between the ages of 6 and 14 to become the best versions of themselves. We work with children this age to help them begin to navigate on their own and begin to make decisions, empowering decisions. We help children to start taking the front stage in their own lives, to start self-directing. All right, so today let's jump into it. Yesterday, we looked at the causes of stress, things that could be stress for our children. We talked about the fact that when, as parents, we're constantly and overly criticizing our children, when we hit and beat our children with the mind of resetting their brains, especially as African parents, okay, when we do that, we cause stress factors in the children. When we move locations from where it is that the children are used to, right? When they have to go to new environments, whether it's within the city, whether it's from one school to the other, or out of town, to a different town, or even to a different country. This could constitute a stress in the life of the child. When children have parents who are having marital issues, unresolved issues in their home. So, in essence, when your child is growing in a home that is chaotic or unstable, This can lead to stress in the life of your child. When your children have big projects, sometimes when they have big projects, this can lead to big projects in school, wherever else. This can lead to stress. All right. When your children, when they have big projects, that can lead to stress. All right. When we have big expectations of our children, okay, especially for children who are high flyers, and then all of a sudden there are all of these big expectations, without knowing them. Okay, as we drive them as parents, they may get into that place where they begin to stress. That stress could be directly from you, or it could be stress that the children put upon themselves because they know what it is that you expect from them. All of these things. And of course, when a child is abused, okay, when a child is living in an abusive environment, whether it's in your home or in other places where they are being abused, and you are not aware, or no one is, helping the child. So all of these are things in the child's environment that can actually lead to stress, or that can be stress factors. And we discussed them intensely yesterday in the show. And you may want to go and catch the yesterday's show in case you don't know this. All right. So let's dive into what we have today. We have very short time today. I am going for my son's graduation in the next 30 minutes, so I need to get out of here as soon as possible. Anxiety is a natural response to stress. Yes, anxiety is a natural response to stress. Okay, and when the brain perceives that we are going into stress, the brain basically would come do its part to protect the human being. Sorry, can you give me a second, please? All right, then. So I'm sorry about that. I needed to attend to something. All right. So yes, let's move on. So the brain, basically, as human beings, our brains are structured. Our brains are wired to protect us. So anxiety is the body's response to stress. So when there is anxiousness, when there is anxiety, what we should be looking out for is what are the stressors, what are the stress factors, what is the origin of the stress, what it is that is stressing the child. As parents, it's our responsibility to be able to identify what is stressing the child, and of course, know how to recognize, in the first place, that your child is stressed. If you don't do this, you don't know how to recognize, you don't recognize, or you do nothing about it. When you recognize, this could lead to bigger things like health issues in your child, bigger things like your child struggling with their schoolwork and academics, bigger things like your children becoming, having low self-esteem and becoming what do you call it now, isolated. So the child can actually retract, or what do you call it now, the child can actually isolate themselves from social, gatherings, and even from you as a family. The child becomes recluse just because of all of this anxiety. So if you do not help your child, it could lead to even much bigger things, as I said. So this is why we must learn how to identify when our children are being stressed, and then of course position ourselves or equip ourselves to be able to help them when they are in this place. Okay, a parent can empower their child to become, who are anxious. Basically, you can empower your child who is anxious, first of all, by modeling calm behavior. That's the first thing. So when your child is in an environment where the parents are highly reactive, okay, when the parents are highly reactive in an environment where your response to everything is yelling and shouting and hitting and beating, that will even become more stressful to the child. So if your child is in an environment where you are constantly being erratic, you're erratic as a parent, you're constantly reactive, you're constantly reacting to every situation, everything in the house is met with shouting, every mistake is met with either hitting and shouting and all of that. Once you are like that, you do not model calmness to the child, so it becomes difficult for the child to regulate when the child is stressed. So when you see a lot of tantrums, especially when your child has outgrown that phase where they should be throwing a tantrum, even for your toddlers, there is a way that as a parent you are calm and you've empowered the child, that your toddler learns how to cope with whatever it is that they are going through, and then they use all the strategies that we will be sharing with you right now to cope with whatever it is that they are going through, rather than throwing big tantrums, and all the other things that come with it. All right, so what are the things that you would see that will show that your child is probably going through anxiety, your child is stressed and all of that? Number one is the child will throw a tantrum. Okay, so when you see children who throw tantrums overly, especially when they have crossed the toddlerhood, you see a 7-year-old, you see an 8-year-old who throws a tantrum overly, that child could be going through stress. Do you know that people, I mean, we have even 15 and 20-year-olds who throw tantrums? And I'm not talking about children who are probably, who probably have some who are differently wired because they have learning, disability. I don't like to use disabilities, learning challenges and all of that, all of that challenges, right? That's come up, right, as children grow. All right, we're not talking about that. We're talking about a child that has not been diagnosed to having any challenge, in learning and all of social behavior and all of that. And you have your usually stable child. When the child is when the child cannot get something, or the child is not in a good mood, the child begins to scream and yell and throw a tantrum. That's an indication that your child could be stressed or going through, anxiety. All right. When you have children that do not know how to accept rejection, okay, every time you say no, all right, the way they react, the reaction that you get from saying no to them, okay, it's tantrum and throwing of things and hitting of things. I've heard of children who would actually use objects and strike the TV in the house. Do that really, like get that aggressive. When this is the case, then it could be a sign that your child is stressed and is going through anxiety, on all of that conditions that are attached to anxiety and stress, right? So these are some of the things that you will be looking out for. All right. Other things are, you can have children who begin to have, who have problem with staying focused on a task. When your child that is 8 and 10-year-olds cannot sit in a place, right? They cannot sit in a place and stay focused on whatever it is that they are doing. Their attention span is very short. They are always anxious, always all over the place. Look at it. It could be that that child is going through one of the things that we are talking about here. Your child, it could also affect how your child sleeps, your child's ability to sleep well. Okay, they could have sleeping trouble. So when you see that child that is unable to sleep until it is 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, they're constantly, jumping all around the house because they can't sleep. So when your child has this, anxiety can actually lead to that. When your child is constantly being irritable, right? When they're constantly being irritable, irritability, all right, that's what will lead, of course, to when they're older, for your toddlers, right? As you're talking about your toddlers, for your toddlers, you will see that they're constantly irritable. Every word that is spoken towards them, every action towards them is met by a counter, a counter reaction. Basically, they're always on the defensive. Their responses are usually laden with sarcasm and anger. So you're wondering, why are you always angry? Why are you, So when you have children who are constantly that way, especially in their home, all right, constantly angry, constantly talking nastily, there is anxiety or there's stress going on somewhere there. All right. When children have nightmares, so for some children, it will show up, as nightmares. They're sleeping, they're constantly restless in their sleep, always talking, always going through one nightmare or the other. All right. These are part of it. When the child is overly worried, all right, your child is overly worried all the time about everything, all right, you ask them to do a simple thing, they're constantly worried, all right, that could be that your child is going through anxiety or stress. When the child refuses to participate in what it is that other people, other children do, easily, your child refuses to go to school all of a sudden, and this is a child who ordinarily we love to go to school. There could be stress going on there, and you want to pay attention to it. When your child decides not to, be a part of activities that you have done together for the longest time. All right, perhaps visiting a family member or visiting some family friends, and all of that. You need to pay attention, especially for your preteens. You need to pay attention and don't just wave everything as, oh, they are growing, and when they are growing they don't want to do. You want to pay more attention. It could be more than just a withdrawal, because of course they want to be alone by themselves, as preteens would usually want when they begin to project their autonomy more. So you want to pay attention and not just take everything at face value. All right, so these are some of the things that you will see, of course, when they get less interested in their schoolwork, right? When they get less and less interested in their schoolwork, if it's some of them who are into sports and other things that they do, the moment they get less and less interested in the things that they love to do ordinarily, the things that they enjoy doing ordinarily, all of a sudden the child is uninterested, or the child is detached from any of the things that they usually would love doing. It could be a sign that your child is stressed, or your child is going through a bout of anxiety and all of that. So these are some of the signs. Okay, I'm sure when you research you will find more. Okay, as we said, this show, we will just come and we will share with you, we will point you at some of these things, answer your questions, so that you can get into communities where you can begin to grow together with other people in your community. Do not parent in today's world in isolation. Please find a community where you can parent alongside other parents, sharing notes, listening to higher knowledge on the matter of parenting, and all of that. You are not an expert in parenting, okay? You are an expert in your own area. So you want to seek experts in the areas where you are interested, or where it is important to you, so that you are learning from people who have invested themselves and their time to getting knowledge in that area. That's a game changer. Okay, then you want to get your child in systems where your children can be in the right environment, with people who are like minds, with people who are talking about the same kind of issues, so that your children recognize that there is more to life and building themselves than just talking games and shows and all of that. So very key, you want to get them into a system where they will grow, a system where it is about them, where they are growing, not just about you. Okay, so when you belong to your own communities, you are learning as a parent what to help your child with. But you need to put your child in a community where the child can own their own journey. It has a way of making the child feel important, like, this is my own journey, I'm walking my own journey. Okay, and of course you want to introduce them to personal development as early as possible. So you want to do that early in their life, so by the time they become teenagers, they are not fighting and struggling with personal development, mentorship, and all of that, because all of a sudden they are too old to understand why they need to be told what to do. Accountability is the best thing, one of the best things that you can do for your children, teaching them the concept of accountability and holding them accountable. Teach them to be accountable to you as their parents. Teach them to be accountable to systems. Teach them to be accountable to mentors. Very key. And this is why we have the mastermind circle. You want to bring in your children who are between 6 and 14. All right. If you have a child that is 5 years and 7 months right now, meaning there will be about 6 in January. Then you can enroll them for a mastermind program so that your children begin to learn all of these things: accountability, understand the place of mentorship, growing with like minds, people who share the same values or similar values, people who have the same drive or can motivate each other to start driving themselves, people whose efforts can be motivational or be a motivation to your child. And of course, your child bringing in their own energy also and using it to be a blessing to other children. So they begin to understand the place of purpose, the place of impact, and the place of them being leaders. If you do not know how to position yourself as a leader, who are you going to lead? So it's high time we start grooming real leaders. So we are not complaining 20 years from now because we have children who are 10 times even worse and entitled than the leaders that we have today. All right, so let's go. What do we do when we find out that our children are struggling, or what do we do to make sure that we don't get our children to that point where their stress turns, where they become so stressed that they become anxious, or they start dealing with anxiety and all other conditions that are similar? Number one, you want to leave. I'm going to be giving you 5 points here. And so I'm going to be using an acronym CAMS. All right. So that you can use this to remember to apply this. All right. So number one is communicate openly. Create a system in your home that there is open communication. Have a system in your home from the day your child is from the day your child is born. Create a system in your home where communication is open, where your child can use that line to reach you anytime. The most important or the most conducive home that you can create for your child is a home where your child feels secured emotionally, a home where your child feels safe. When you as a parent knows how to regulate your emotions, when you as a parent knows how to stay calm, when you are emotionally stable as a parent, what you do is you create stability in your space for your child. The more stable a child is, the more safe the child feels. So, safety for a child is love. Safety for a child is permission to grow. Safety for a child is permission to evolve. So, when your child feels safe, when your child feels secure in your home, what it is your child is able to grow, your child is able to evolve. Creativity is not stifled. Your child does well. The child is able to do well in their schoolwork and in every other place, every other area of their life. So as a parent, you need to create a stable home, and by a stable home by creating that line of communication where your children can communicate with you when they do not feel great about something, when they are not happy about something. Your children can hold you accountable as much as you hold them accountable. Where the communication line entails that people are listened to, and people are listened to actively, right? So your child comes to you, they want to talk, you drop your phone, you give them 100% attention. When you're doing this, you're modeling to the child that they are important and you are ready to pay attention and listen to them actively. When you do this, you are empowering your child and opening that line where they know that what they have to say will always be important to you. Okay, that line should also be one where your child can express themselves openly and express themselves completely as they feel. Where your child can say to you, Mom, I do not like the way you spoke to me, or I do not like the way you speak to me. Where your child can say to you, No, Mom, you can ask me to do this and you don't even do the same thing. Where your child can express themselves openly to you and hold you accountable as much as you hold them accountable. When you have this kind of system, you have opened the line for the child to come back to you no matter what it is that they are going through. And that way you are able to help them deal with the stresses that come up in their lives before they turn into something bigger. Number two, active relaxation. We must create a system, or we must teach our children how to stay calm in the face of, stress, how to stay calm in the face of when things do not work well. All right. It is part of executive functioning skill when we teach our children how to adjust to changes in their environment, how to adjust to changes in the things that they are used to. All right. So we need to create and we need to simulate these situations where things change. This is the way you know something has been happening all this while. If they change or something, an emergency or something happens, how do you adjust? So we must teach our children how to be comfortable in different situations. Okay, adaptability. We must teach our children adaptability. We must teach our children how to breathe in and breathe out when they are having those big feelings that make them want to erupt, whether in joy or in anger. Okay, we must model this first of all to them. How do you stay calm? What do you do in the face of those big changes in your life, in the face of those triggers in your life? How do you handle the things that you do not see coming? How do you handle when you are being triggered? What do you do in the face of when people do wrong by you and all of that? How calm you stay, how you handle this is going to model to the child basically, and it's going to teach the child. And this can be done by teaching them some strategy, like the breathing strategy. When they are angry, the other day I saw our son, and one of those times that our daughter had stretched him, and he wanted to just release all of it. And I could see him literally, like he was demonstratively, actually just take a deep breath, and he said to himself, just calm down. And I'm like, well done. All right. So we must model these things, show them these things, and then, recognize it when they practice it. And then, of course, give them opportunities and, to practice and continue to, get better with all this. Basically, muscle relaxation. Do you know that if you teach your children how to do simple things like meditation, all right, teach your children, you can start by simply teaching them, meditation or meditating with the word of God. Just coming back from school after resting and eating a meal, you take 15 minutes and read the word of God and stay quiet in the presence of God and meditate. We must teach our children how to calm everything around them, everything around them, and calm their spirits. Okay, when we give them, this, when we empower them this way and teach them, right, to use this, every day in their life, through reading the word of God and all of that, you will realize that they can apply this in other areas of their lives. When we teach the children reflective, thinking, when we teach them how to reflect, we also do this to them. We teach them how to stay calm. Now, when they do all of this calm exercise, when situations arise in their life where they have to use this or bring this to practice, you will see that, they will know how to navigate. All right. The next one is learn positive thinking. Yes, this is part of why you want to have your child in communities and in programs where your children are pointed to thinking powerful thoughts, thinking and engaging in powerful activities. Now, when they do this, for instance, your children learn to start reading books that will inspire and will self teach them. All right. When they learn to start doing all of these empowering things, what you are doing is you are filling their minds with the kind of thoughts that you want them to think about. When your child has to stay in a class where your child is learning about emotional intelligence, your child is in the class where your child is learning empowering skills, basically, these become the things that fill their mind, as opposed to a child who is constantly watching one animated video where they are fighting and there's blood all over the place and all of that. The truth about it is these are the thoughts that will be in their minds. Your child will sleep and the thoughts that are hovering all over their head is one video game and how one person killed, super. So for children, this is exciting. But basically, this become their residue thoughts, basically. And of course, we're a product of our thinking. So if the child has to lie down and reminisce on anything, most often it is these things that they see and they watch every time. So imagine that when your child lies down and is thinking, is, in that space of, deep thoughts, what he is replaying over and over in his head is how one super hero or one whatever, use the hammer to smash the next one's head, and all of that. So this is how we bring children to the point where they can their thoughts are not empowering. Their thoughts are not the kind of things that they should be thinking about. All right. We should teach them, how to, and then we begin to teach them how to switch their thoughts, right? Because you actually can be taught how to think. All right. So when we introduce them to, the next thing we're going to be talking about anyway. All right. So basically, what are your children feeding into their minds? What are they watching on TV? What are they listening to? What are they doing in their spare time? It will, of course, accumulate. I mean, it will form what it is that is the residue of their thoughts, basically. So if you want your children to think right, positive thinking, all right, then we need to put empowering things. How empowering things? How can we do this? Affirmations. Let your children affirm your children. In the mastermind, we have monthly affirmations, and the affirmations are tied to the theme of the month and what it is that we are trying, the skill that we're trying to develop in the children throughout that month. So we don't just teach them these skills. We don't just get them to do these skills. We empower them to speak from their mouth what they are able to do with these skills. As they do, the subconscious mind is taking it in. And of course, these form some of the thoughts that hover around their head. If we don't end up using animation and all of the combat videos and wrestling and all of the craze that is out here in the world to erode the things that are important. So very, very key. Affirmations. Okay. The other one is self-talk. Teach your children how to positively self-talk. So you see some of those children, your child is sitting down and is like, and you're constantly, why are you always talking? What are you? Switch it. Okay. Switch it. Say powerful things to yourself. I have learned to speak to myself. I can sit down and I'm like, Beth, what are you doing? No, you can do this. You got the power. You got the power. You can do this. So teach your children to talk to themselves, positively that way. That way they fill their mind with positive things. All right. The next one is mindful activities. If your children are not doing activities, okay, that will help them calm their mind and stay focused on the things that are important, right? Then they will not be able to calm themselves down in the face of stress. Now, some of this mindful activity is journaling. All right. We do this. It's a very big tool that we use in the mastermind circle. Our children journal every day in the mastermind circle. It will teach your children the act of reflection. At the end of the day, the child should be able to stop and say to themselves, what did I do today? What went wrong today? What went well today? What did I achieve today? The goals I set in the morning, were I able to achieve them? All of these things is teaching the child reflection and mindfulness, where you are able to focus your mind on the things that are important. Now, when we don't do this, then the distractions in the world are way too many. I was saying to a parent yesterday, when I see the average child, I pity them. Do you know that your children do not have 1, 2, 3 options? Your children at every point have 50, 100, 1,000 options all the time. Do you understand? When they hold a remote control, they have 1,000 and more options. When they sit to eat food, they have 1,001 options, depending on the society where they are growing in. Even the choice of living with you as a parent is an option, because the child can actually go and make a case and Social Security will take them and put them somewhere else. So our children have too many options. So it's not like when we grew up that it's a case of, you have to do what your parents say, because if you don't do what's going to happen to you, no options. The children have way too many options and they know it. They know it. Right? So I was saying to a parent yesterday, if at once you get 100 jobs, at once, in fact, even if you get 20 jobs at once, do you not think you will get confused? You will get confused as to which one do I go with. I'm telling you, you will actually get confused. In fact, in many cases, you might even end up with a choice that is not the best choice, just because the options were way too many. This is what your child is dealing with all the time. Options way too many. In fact, some of us even drive it home even more. That's why your child can come back to school from school and says, and just say to you, I don't like the teacher in that school. They always did, and the next thing you're calling the school, I will take my child away. So they even know that they have options as far as school goes. So we have children who are in their 7th year in school and have been to 4 different schools, 5 different schools. Options. Too many. Not because you do a job that makes you move from one place, no, but because you are constantly, anyone that is not bowing to the whims and caprices of you, your whims and caprices, or that of your children, you move them to the next, and you move them to the next. So way too many options. So we need to teach our children how to put it together. How to learn to stay in a place and be mindful of what is important per time, what is priority per time, and all of that. So letting our children engage in hobbies also. All right, what are their hobbies? What are their superpowers? If we're able to connect them, we do this so well in the mastermind circle. I don't have a single partner, a single child in the mastermind that is not honing a skill, and I know what skill that they are honing, because it is an ongoing conversation. We are constantly coming up with ideas of what you can do next, what are you doing right now, and all of that, because we know that the more engaged they are in productive things, the more mindful and focused they would be. So you want to do that also. Because when they get stressed and they have the things, that they do, that is their happy place, they go back there and all of that. And if you're having conversations, you're able to nip the things that need to be nipped in the bud. Then lastly is routine and structures. You must have structural routine in your home. With structural routine, you're able to create balance as far as activities go. So, do you know sometimes when your children have too many things to do can be stressful to them? Okay, and then again, we are in the world where our children cannot just do one thing. We're in a world where our children need to be multi-skilled. Our children need to be multi-skilled. Our children have on their own multiple talents that have to be honed. Our children need to grow and they need to evolve in as many places that they have their talent or they have their gifts in. Now, are you going to say, because I hear parents say things like that, oh, let the child focus on school. And so we have children who the only thing they do in their life is go to school, have an education, math, English, physics, till they are 17 and 18. And then you have an 18-year-old who doesn't even know how to make a dime. An 18-year-old who doesn't know how to cook. An 18-year-old doesn't have other accompaniment skills because we were focusing on one thing. All right? All in the name of we want to keep them mindful of that thing. No. Our children have the capacity to do much more. What we need is actually parents and caregivers who can help them manage these with structured routines. It is the kind of routine that you have that will help put structure around all the different things that your children need to do. And I'm not saying load them with too much to do. If your child is honing one or two skills per time and they have schoolwork, why not? All right, why not? For instance, our son is on holiday right now, and more or less on holiday right now. And all he needs to do, we were having a conversation the other day, and all he needs to do is to ensure that the first 6-7 hours of his day is actually fixed on doing productive things. Now, the problem, first of all, is the fact that your child is on holiday and you will leave them to sleep till 12 o'clock as compensation for going to school to earn an education. So how are you empowering that child, or how are you skilling that child? It's by teaching them to wake up when the world has finished moving. So it's only school and its structure and school and its pushy that will all make them wake up early. So such that the day they graduate from school, they will wrap all that is the school structure and dump it there. And then they come out and it has no effect. They don't, on their own, they cannot push themselves to do these things on their own, because in school they did it under duress. Do you understand? So if we don't get to the point where we are pointing our children to these things, we will make all that they learn in school and in other places just part-time in their lives, because we're not reinforcing these things in our homes. So you want to create that structure system where your children are doing the things that they do, balancing, essentiality, more like what is important per time, and then structuring it in a way that we're doing a bit of all of the things that call for our attention and all of that. So he knows he will still get to wake up at 6 a.m., still get to say his prayers and devotional for an hour from 6, to about 7, come in, still gets to do his chore from 7 to about 8, still gets to go and do his laundry from 8 to about 9, right? Still gets to do his laundry from 8 to about 8:30 or thereabouts. Still comes to fix some breakfast and then eat by 9 or thereabouts. And then he has skills that he's honing. He loves to do graphics design and it's time to practice. He comes and then he has a whole hour, 1 whole hour doing that. And then after that, he wants to just keep, he's preparing for exams ahead of him, and so he just wants to just come use Khan Academy, do some things, there, just practice here and there. And then he sits down to Khan Academy at his pace. He does a bit of practice, and all of that. He's writing a book right now because he chose to, that he will publish whenever he likes at any point in his life. And then he sits down and he writes 1,000 words or 5 to 1,000 words in a day. He sits down and he does that for another 1 hour, 1.5 hours. You see that? And then he looks at his business. He sells juice. He looks at his business, takes stock. Did anyone take any? And then does that. By 12, 1 o'clock, he's done with all of those things. Why not? Why won't he have a video game afterwards? Why won't he go out to play afterwards? Why won't he stop by at his friends? Now he has all the time from that time till somewhere around 4 o'clock, where we have a family game or family, engagement together. We can have that 1 hour, 2 hours, and then we go into the kitchen, cook. And so what I'm saying is anything is possible if you put your mind to it. All right. So I've talked about the mastermind over and over again. If you'd like to be a part of the mastermind circle, we have the information that you need scrolling on your screen right now. Just screen grab it and then reach out to us, right? With the information, you can register for a slot for your child with just 5,000 naira. The mastermind costs about less than 6,000 naira per month. So for an entire year, you get to pay only 70,000 naira. An entire year is less than 6,000 naira per month. Not even the lesson teacher in my village takes 6,000 naira per month. Not even the lesson teacher teaching one subject 2 times in a week can take 6,000 naira. There's nowhere in the world. Yet this is what we do, empowering your child every day, all day for 365 days. The mastermind is a place to be. It's a foundation ground for any growing child. All right. We also have a book challenge that is coming up from the 1st of August. You want to be there. Meet Pine Money and you get into the challenge. But what you need to do right now is check the comments at the end in the comment section, and you will see a link that you can use to join our waiting list for you to be a part of that book challenge for children between 0 and age 13. Thank you for joining me on the show today. We'll see you again tomorrow, Friday at 8:30 a.m. I gotta go for graduation. Bye. Bye.